All right, back again with ye old garage door reviews. This is a shelter cloth packer coat, Filson shelter cloth packer coat. They haven't made these in a long time. I don't know exactly when the last time they made these was, but I would guess it's been 10 years at least, maybe less than that. But this is effectively the same thing as a double Mackinac wool cruiser, but it's made out of shelter cloth instead of Mackinac wool. I've had both, so I can tell you they're basically the same thing. It's just the material changes. Of course, with the material changes, there are other certain changes too. Like for example, this has a zipper, right? And it's got snap button closures. It doesn't have like regular old button closures like the wool garments do. But anyway, I'm just going to go over it real quick. Chances are maybe you're looking at one of these used, or maybe Filson starts making them again at some point. So I'll talk about what this is like, and then how I use it and why I like it. So I bought this used, got a fraction of what they cost new. Especially if they make these again, I'm sure they're going to be over $500. When this one was made, I'd be shocked if it was much over $300 or $350, which at the time would have been a lot. But prices have just gone up on everything. I'm sure you all have noticed if you go to the store. So starting this off here at the cuff, we have a snap button, and we have two positions. So I pretty much always leave it on the loosest position, but it gets fairly snug, especially if you want to put a glove under it. That's great. On the front here, we have a double zipper, which is great, because if you're going to ride a horse or a motorcycle or sit down or whatever it is and you don't want to unzip, well, then you can simply zip up from the bottom, get yourself some extra style points. Ladies love it. Yeah. The storm flap has buttons on it. Of course, you can button the storm flap up, and you get tons of wind and water protection from this. Tons of it. And then the collar here is moleskin on the top. The tin cloth variant of this jacket it's exactly the same. It's just made of tin cloth, not shelter cloth. Shelter cloth is 8 ounces unwaxed, and tin cloth is like 10.5 ounces unwaxed, 11 ounces unwaxed. So it's just a heavier fabric. I think tin cloth is 14 ounces waxed, and I think shelter cloth is I think it's 10 ounces waxed. So waxed shelter cloth is roughly the same weight as unwaxed tin cloth is. Got to learn the terminology right. Tin cloth, heavy canvas. Shelter cloth, medium canvas by the Filson standard. This is shelter cloth, the tin cloth variant, almost identical, just made out of heavier duty material. And anyway, back to that. So the tin cloth variant of this has Mackinac wool on the collar, not cotton moleskin. So this cotton moleskin in the rain is going to get soaking wet. The upside to the moleskin though is it's extremely soft and very comfortable. So if you flip up the collar like this, you notice it's not a super high collar, but it's a little higher than a typical collar. And you can, with this little flap here, you can throat latch, you can latch it. And there's only one snap for the throat latch as far as the closure goes. So you can't adjust it to be looser or tighter. It's just open or snapped. And there's what it looks like. And then with the snap, I just leave this thing flapping around, but there's actually a snap over here for the throat latch. So you can kind of fold the throat latch up, and you can snap it here, just like so, and then it hides under the collar. So I'll just leave it like that for now, but normally I don't bother doing that because it doesn't bother me if it's just flapping around. And to be honest with you, it's not cold enough here in Seattle often to have to do that, but it can. It's a great feature to have. So that's that. We are caped from here, these upper pocket snaps. We'll go over that in a second. It's caped all the way through the back and all the way down through the arm. So that's 2 layers of shelter cloth. And that adds extra protection than 1 layer of a thicker fabric. So tin cloth is probably more resistant to water and wind than shelter cloth, but 2 layers of shelter cloth is going to be infinitely superior to 1 layer of tin cloth, if that makes sense. And of course, the tin cloth variant of this jacket, or coat I should say, is also caped exactly the same way. So it's way more wind and water resistant than this one. And it has been torrentially pouring here in Seattle for the last week. We've just had the most ridiculous amount of rain, even for us. I mean, usually it's drizzly all the time here. It's very rare that it just rains hard all the time. I mean, my basement's got water coming in under the foundation, and I just put French drains in this year. So it held off a lot longer than it did last year, but the ground here is so absurdly wet from all the rain we've had. And this thing's great, keeps me bone dry. You know, it is wax, like any wax cotton garment, it's gonna leak. They're not 100% waterproof. I don't want to get into a debate with anybody. You know, if you like other materials, fantastic. I don't care if some materials work better than others. You know, the thing that's great about wax cotton is that it's incredibly predictable and it behaves exactly the same no matter how old it is. The only thing that changes are, you know, obviously if you wear holes in it or if you don't wax it. If you want to get the same performance that you had when it was brand new 100 years in the future, you can by re-waxing the canvas. It's 100% predictable. Some of the downsides, just if you're not familiar with wax canvas in general, is that it can be kind of clammy on the skin. So, you know, it's about 55 degrees today. It's not cold at all. So this is not a jacket I'm going to insulate myself under right now. You know, if it was 38 degrees and raining, which, you know, doesn't happen often. Usually 40 degrees is kind of the cutoff for our rainfall around here, but it happens. And, you know, I actually sized up on this one. So this is an extra, extra large, and I have a lot of room for layering. So you probably notice this thing looks pretty baggy on me. And if you look at my hands, you know, with my arm stretched out straight. So I wanted it oversized on purpose. I had the opportunity to buy one of these in extra large, which would have been the perfect size. And, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not sad that I oversized to an extra, extra large, but an extra large would have provided enough room for layering anyway. So I probably really didn't need to do that. Another reason I wanted to oversize it was, say I layer up a bunch underneath this, even with all those layers on, I'm still having no binding issues in the shoulders. And I do use this as a work jacket. This thing's not like pristine, it's a beater. I use it out in the rain and doing whatever I'm doing. So the caping, and then it's got the traditional Filson pocket layout. You got pocket, 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 and then you got hand warmer pockets right here behind the bottom cargo pockets. There is no mat pocket in the back, nothing there. You can see that it's got this little expansion built into it back here for sitting down on horseback or on a quad, or, you know, it gives you room to let the jacket kind of flex and not bind if you're in a seated position, because you can tell it does go down. It goes down past my front pockets, about an inch past the bottom of my front pockets on my pants here. So yeah, and the cargo pockets are generous on this. Compared to the Mackinac Cruiser, I think these are larger pockets everywhere, except for maybe the upper pockets. The upper pockets might be, I bet they're probably a little bit bigger too. This has, on this side, it's got the tool pocket for a little, you know, you can put a pencil in there or a screwdriver or whatever. Again, just button snaps here. They're made out of brass. That's just typical for this kind of garment from Filson. And then the bottom cargo pockets actually drop in behind the hand warmer pocket. So anything you stick in these cargo pockets, you will feel underneath your hand in the hand warmer pocket. Now, I've actually found, and I was watching a Jesse Stone movie, if you've ever seen, I know I'm kind of an old soul, if you've ever seen the Jesse Stone movies with Tom Selleck, I really enjoy them, but he actually has one of these jackets in that series, and I always see him put his hands in here, like this, and so I started doing that, and I actually think it's more comfortable than putting them in the hand warmer pocket, but, you know, teach their own. You copy Tom Selleck, I'd say there's less cool people to emulate. But yeah, so this is definitely not a style piece. Like, you're not making a fashion statement with this. I mean, I think it looks like you're working in a meat packer plant, or, you know, you're on a deck of a ship, right? It's not for style. This is to keep you dry and protected from the elements. Another thing that's nice about these, and Filson makes a number of jackets that accept zip-in liners. This one accepts zip-in liners. So it is a Vislon zipper, and you'll see I'm wearing a one of their vests. This is current production. You can still get these vests. They've been making them forever. But the vest actually zips in, and you can zip or unzip it while you're wearing the coat. The only thing that changes with the coat here is that on the very back of this vest, there's a little button. Hopefully you can see that. And that button will button into right here. So if you button that up, you know, it's a little bit trickier to take the vest. If you wanted to take the coat off but leave the vest on, it's a little trickier to unzip the vest, and then you got to reach around and try and get that button out before you take the coat off. Otherwise, you got to just pull the whole thing off, get this vest out, and then put the vest on. But I found the versatility of being able to use a liner inside this is fantastic, because if you're going from indoors to outdoors, that's great. You know, again, this is a double XL vest, so it's way bigger than I need. So I can be pretty bulked up under it with sweaters or thick shirts, or even another small jacket, and the vest just goes right over all that. And, you know, I can leave it attached or whatever. And then the last thing I guess I'll point out about this is it does have one interior pocket. It's just a drop pocket, would be on the inside of the right-hand side. There's nothing special about that. It's pretty small, and if you put a liner in it, then you have no access to that pocket anyway, so I just pretend like it doesn't exist, because I pretty much always leave the wool liner in it. And Filson does make liners that are like a bomber jacket style. It's basically like this vest with sleeves, and maybe I'll do another video today on just the vest. But I'm gonna think if there's anything useful on this tag here. It's a style 461 NXL-0T. And I believe this color is otter green, but I've re-waxed it. And all I can tell you is that it blocks the wind. I have not been in wind that can penetrate this, and it keeps the rain out no problem. Oh yes, and there are buttons on the back for a hood, and Filson still sells hoods that fit these, and you know, the hoods are interchangeable amongst a number of different Filson coats and jackets, and so that's what we got there. So that's pretty much it for that. I'm 6'2.5". I am 255 pounds. I'm very broad for my height. That's a double XL. It's really, really big on me. You know, to be honest with you, if I wasn't intending to do any layering, a size large might actually fit. Although I think it'd probably be too tight in the shoulders because I'm so broad at my shoulders. But an XL would definitely be a better fit than this. But for that layering purpose, you know, if it's 25 degrees outside, I can layer enough under this thing that it'll be no problem. And waxed cotton is clammy when it's cold, but it's really good with snow because snow just falls right off of it. Does not stick. It's like a synthetic in that regard. And that's about it for that. So on to the next one.